This is your first debut feature film,
Yes.
and it deals with quite a hard subject for you first time around, with the foundation of the film being Parkinson's. What was the inspiration behind that? I heard, was there something to do with your dad?
Yes, so I lost my father in 2013 with multiple system atrophy, and which is another rare neurological condition. I, like I didn't write anything about it for a long time, but eventually, when the idea from the new music came to me, which it started off just by me wanting to talk about someone with a condition that would affect their ability to play music. So I started doing just a general shallow research on what it could have been, and hoping to to go deeper and deeper. And I came across young Parkinson's, and the first thing that popped up was rare condition. So that really triggered into me wanting to talk about Parkinson's. So that was the direct link. And before I realized, I was writing somehow in places a personal story.
Well, because that's, it's quite personal to you. Did that make it actually harder to write, or did it just flow?
Well, the writing just really flew. Before I know it, I sort of had it. Some scenes have been hard to film. So when we were on set and I've seen actually the lines delivered, so some days have been a bit tougher than others on that.
Were any of those scenes actually drawn from your life at all?
Well, there is the family the family relationship. So between Adrian's character and his mother are they wouldn't be of course identical, but there's family dynamics that I went through at home. So how let's say my father definitely became a very maybe a bit hard on us in places, because he was going through such a hard situation. He didn't really know how to communicate it. So there's moments between Adrian's character and his mother where he behaves quite rudely and to her, and he has some kind of reactions that they're not, he's not really taking in considerations or feelings in places, and moments where, let's say, she says things like, we're going to talk to another doctor, and he says, no, I don't need to talk to another doctor, so that's a natural reaction that family has and friends have when they hear something like a diagnosis like that. But maybe sometimes it's the person themselves who are stronger, and they make their family stronger, as they go through this.
Yeah. So let's try and make this a little bit more happy. So where did the idea of the music storyline come from? Because I think that fits in quite well.
Yeah, so I love music. And I, of course, in the back of my head, I always wanted to make a film with my favorite music in. Of course, that's a personal wish. And I had a band in my 20s, and I played a bit of guitar, did singing myself. So I wrote many stories even when I was a teenager about bands. So I really wanted to write about musicians because I just love the world they live in, and I flirted with it a little bit. So yes, that's definitely what drove everything. And I wrote the new music without really knowing if we were ever gonna make it. So I really just had fun with that dynamic and with the characters and the band and being flatmates and such.
Yeah, I know, when I was watching it, I was like, I bet you the director, the writer had actually been in a band at some point. So the cast are all fairly new as well to the game, like to act in. When auditioning, was there a stipulation that they had to have some kind of musical background?
Yes. So it was part of our cast that they had to be having a little knowledge of the instrument they were going to play, but mostly being comfortable in playing it. That was the most important thing, because they would have to play in front of the crew filming, but then there's the scenes where there's an actual concert, so there's a lot of people looking at them, so they would have to be comfortable in acting their character while playing that instrument. So definitely that was part of it. Yes.
Oh, fantastic. And were the songs actually written specifically for the film? And How did you go about choosing the right people to compose that music?
So I've been really lucky because I got in touch with Zach Stevenson from a local band in Dublin called Monkey, and I just sat down with him, had a coffee, and said, "This is more or less what I'm looking for in terms of sound." And he came back with these two incredible songs. One is called Home, which is the one that the band is learning to play and will then play at the end of the film. And the other one is called Hide, which is the other song that they play in the film. He just came out with the perfect sound and the perfect lyrics as well. So those two are original songs composed for us, and they just capture the mood of the film so well. So I've been just lucky and thankful for Zach's help with this. Yeah.
Yeah. Had you actually heard of their music before?
I did know them. They don't. So Monkey themselves don't. They go in a slightly different direction than the soundtrack kind of music. But Zach is very big in bands, it's like the Menzingers and such, which were a big influence on the sound of the Cellmates.
Okay, and there's actually a scene where the band plays in the street. Did this cause any issues at all? Did it attract a big crowd? Or, I mean, was there any buskers that actually wanted to join in?
Well, we those were situations where we had our own extras in, and we were in a it looks very much improvised, but it was all very organized, realistically. So now we've had people kind of looking in to see what we were doing, especially in the scene towards the middle of the film. But no, mostly they were just very controlled environments.
Okay, and what was your best thing about making this film? What will live with you, considering it's your first feature film? What will you take with you going forward?
Well, the two things absolutely. So the first one, the relationship I have, and I create, and I was able, to put together, and the help I had from the Parkinson's community. So the fact that the film was made in association with Young Parkinson's Ireland, their input, their help, their support, and so that's been something that warmed me up all the way through, still does. So that's one of the best things about it, absolutely. And I guess the other one is to put myself out there, dream big, do something bigger than myself, and just the great relationship and the friendships that were created on set and all that. The atmosphere that we created between each other, and how fun really it was to make this, how much fun we had.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for talking to me today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.